Hey, beautiful mama. Welcome to the Radiant Mom Rising podcast, where we believe you were never meant to just survive. You were born to shine. I'm your host, Mary Dibble, life coach, mom of three, and your biggest cheerleader in creating a life and business you love. Each week, we dive into real conversations about mindset, motherhood, healing, and purpose, helping you break free from overwhelm, rediscover your worth, and rise into the confident, radiant woman you were meant to be. Because when moms rise, the world rises with us. So grab your coffee, take a deep breath, and let's get ready to rise together. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on Radiant Mom Rising today. I am with Kristen Smith. Kristen, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing so good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
I am too. I am too. I think this is a very important topic to be talking about today and just the conversation in itself. I'm looking forward to seeing how that unfolds. I always do. So, why don't we get started? If you will, just introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, yeah, my name is Kristen Smith, and I am a relationship and peace connection coach. You can follow me at Instagram at Body and Spirit. There's a dot in between body dot and dot spirit. And I just love to share information on how to have your own peace in your life, like making sure that you're like, I want everybody to understand that like finding peace and joy in your life is like up to you. It's not about what other people are doing in your life. And I
That's
I mean, like, I'll
beautiful.
share my story a little bit here in a minute, but
Yeah.
I went through a lot of years of not being very happy and not being and thinking that it was up to someone else to do different things in
Yeah.
order for me to be happy. And when I finally realized that that wasn't the case, like, I found the tools and everything that I needed, and I love helping other people do the same. So I also I'm a gut health coach. So
Ooh.
it's interesting how like the physical aspect, the mindset aspect, and the emotional and spiritual are all connected. It's kind of like a circle, like it's a
Yes.
interwoven thing, and they all react or they all affect each other. And
Yeah,
so,
it
but
does.
yeah,
And
so I coach people on gut health and relationships basically.
I love it. I love it because I think especially with the gut health, that's becoming more and more taken like there's awareness more around that now and how that really affects us emotionally. And so I think that's
Yes.
wonderful that you combine all of that because you're right. We're all a whole. So everything needs to be worked on. So I think that's beautiful. And I do want to get into your story because I feel like this is something that so many of us moms, even myself personally, like I'm in a marriage. We just hit 7 years and 10 years of being together. We have two small children and one who's about to be going off to college this upcoming year. So it's like the challenges that so many of us moms face when, especially as becoming, when deciding that we want to be an entrepreneur, that we want to do our own thing while also still carrying on a job, managing the household, trying to have a marriage. It's very heavy. It can be chaotic. It can be a lot of things, and you know, there's that place of building resentment, and like you said earlier about like how we can sometimes feel like it's on someone else in order to make us feel better. And so I would love to hear a little bit about your own personal journey of what that was like for you and what you went through.
Yeah, so my husband and I actually just celebrated our 30th anniversary this last summer. And
Congratulations.
so it seems like a lifetime. I mean, it kind of is a lifetime. 30 years
Right?
is a long time. And I have four daughters, and three of them are married. One of them has three cute little grandbabies.
Oh.
And there was because we celebrated our 30th anniversary this last summer, they all came up to our home to celebrate one night. And I just remember they were all there. It was just beautiful chaos, like a bunch of us, 14 of us, all laughing, playing games, having fun. And I specifically remember this moment because I sat back just like noticing the joy that everybody was feeling and the joy that I felt at that time. And I was so grateful that I was able to feel the joy in that moment because it hadn't always been that way. There
Yeah.
were a lot of years where previous to that, while those four girls were growing up, my husband and I mean, really, we were doing the best that we knew how, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We were doing all the things. But I found myself struggling. I was struggling physically, I was struggling emotionally, and I was struggling spiritually. And from the outside looking in, I don't feel like most people knew how bad I was struggling because I was still doing all the things.
Yeah.
I had the benefit of working from home. So I've always been blessed to
Yeah.
have a career where I was, for the most part, able to work from home. There were some times when my kids were younger where I would go travel and teach classes and do some trainings and stuff for like a week at a time. And my mom and my in-laws were amazing because when my kids were young, they would take, like they would watch
Yeah.
my kids for a week while I was off
Oh,
teaching a class for a week, right?
wow. Yeah.
And then it was amazing for me because I was able to do that for a week, but then I was able to come home and just be a mom. Well, as the
Hmm.
years went by, I had different opportunities in my career, but most of the time I have a background in technology. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I actually work for, I develop software,
Yeah.
the certification exams for software like Microsoft, Adobe, and Autodesk. And so a lot of that time, again, I had the opportunity to work from home, which was amazing because it was flexible and I was
Hmm.
able to like go when my kids started school. I didn't do as much traveling anymore. It was a little bit more difficult to ship my kids off when they were actually having to be to school every day, and that was fine. But it was, I would go off and, like I would leave during the day to go read with the first graders, or I was helping with the PTA, and I had church callings that I would help with, and I loved serving in my church.
Yeah.
But it was a double-edged sword because I still had work to do always. So there was like in the back of my mind, I
Yeah.
always had stuff I needed to get done. So even though I had that flexibility to be able to do all the mom things I wanted to do,
Yeah.
it was still stressful, right? And I was exhausted. I would find myself working into the night a lot of times
Yeah.
because I had taken off during the day and done things that I needed to do. And in reality, like when I would try to spend time with my husband, it was the two of us sitting in our bed at night with the TV on, playing a show or a movie. I had
Hmm.
my laptop on my lap, I was working away, and he was snoring, right? Like quality time, right?
Yes.
Quality. So that was frequent. I mean, that happened a lot.
Yeah.
And I specifically remember one morning, it was in the middle of the summer, and I had been up late the night before, so I was exhausted. I was trying to catch up on some sleep, and I was excited that it was summer so I didn't have to get my kids up to school.
Yeah.
And my 8-year-old daughter came running in my room. She started bouncing on my bed, started poking at me, Mom, wake up. And I mean, have you ever had it? I mean, nobody's happy when somebody wakes you up, right? So my 8-year-old daughter's poking at me, and I was just irritated. And I was like, get out of my room, get out,
Yeah. Yeah.
like leave me alone. You're big enough to take care of yourself. And I will never forget the look on her face. Like she just looked at me and she was like, but Mom, it's my birthday. I felt like the worst mom in the world. I don't know if
Yeah.
any of you can relate. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
felt terrible. Like, I
Yeah.
literally felt like I forgot my daughter's birthday. And I mean, I've asked her about this. I mean, she's 22 years old now, and I've asked her this, and she doesn't even remember, right? So
Oh.
that's one thing that I would always want to point out to women is that, like, give yourself grace, right? Like, I
Yes.
felt terrible at the time, but give yourself grace because you're a good mom.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
sometimes you're not a good mom and that's okay,
We're
but
human.
good things will make up the difference, right? Your
Yeah.
kids won't even remember those little things as
Oh
so.
my God. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I felt terrible. I felt awful. And at the same time, like I said, my church was really important to me. The things that I had learned in my faith
Yeah.
were really the things that were keeping me going
Mhm.
with the exhaustion and everything that was going on in my life. And my husband at the time had gradually quit going to church over time. And so there was a difference there in
Yeah.
beliefs. We weren't believing the same things, and there was a lot of conflict that was caused because of that. And so we weren't getting along very good. We were constantly fighting. I had anxiety, and I'm like I had resorted to taking anxiety meds. Like I would frequently find myself in my closet crying, curled up in a ball, crying and praying. And for me, again, I was brought up in a religion where I was taught that I could expect miracles. I actually had a, a prophet or a leader in my church that had given a talk several years ago that he talked about seeking and expecting miracles. And I actually even bought this necklace at the time it says
Yeah.
expect miracles on it. And I
Hmm.
would wear it all the time. And I would I would find myself in the closet crying and praying, and I was praying that my husband would change, right? Because his heart
Mhm.
needed to be softened, and he needed to understand how important their beliefs were to me, and he needed to believe the same that I as I did. And I remember one day I was found myself again curled up in the closet, just crying and having a miserable time and holding on to this necklace. And I specifically remember this small voice in my head that said, "You're praying for the wrong miracle." And I knew at the time what that meant because I had been working on myself at that
Yeah.
time for a little bit, and I'd been working with a coach and kind of
Uh-huh.
learning some of the things. And I knew that meant that the miracle would actually be me loving my husband and my kids and my siblings and my parents. Like it would be me loving those people around me for exactly who they were with no expectation of them changing at all.
Mhm. That's powerful.
Yeah. And so I know there's a lot of people out there that are in the similar situations, right? Where we're praying and we are expecting other people to change in order for us to find our happiness. And so today, like I would love to talk about three of the main things that like I've gone through in my life that I've learned that have
Yeah.
really helped in that process.
Oh, please, please, because this resonates so much. And I know many of my listeners, I mean, including myself, like we feel this because we all have those moments. And especially in a marriage, that whole wanting them to see the world in the way you do, like trying to get them to understand, it's like it's exhausting. You waste so much energy towards trying to fix them or get them to understand and see the world in the way you do. And it's just so unhealthy. It's so unhealthy, and it doesn't change anything. Actually, if anything, it builds a lot of resistance because you're now
Resentment.
tapping into a triggered state that they're going through because they have their own experience and their own stuff.
Yeah.
And so me and my husband have been really exploring that. And I love that you got into coaching because I don't think enough people really understand life coaching and what it
Right.
does and what it means. Because I've had people that I've talked to and they're like, oh, well, I see a therapist or I have my spouse to support me or I have this or whatever. But I don't think they grasp truly like how beneficial life coaching is and how different it is compared to that kind of support. So, yeah, please do share the biggest three things that you have learned along your journey, because I'm sure we all need to hear it.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that you pointed that out because what I've found too is that I mean I think therapy has its place. I mean
Yes.
there's definitely it definitely helps, right?
Yeah.
But I think what I've learned in the coaching world is that like I've just learned a lot of tools that help
Yeah.
me work on myself, right? Like once I learn
Yes.
those tools, it's it's quick.
Yeah.
It's not something that takes session after session after session, right? Like
Yeah.
I've had clients and myself where I after I learn these tools, like I'm not perfect. Like I'm
Yeah.
still working on it, right?
Of course.
But I have an awareness because I've
Hmm.
practiced enough now that like
Yeah.
sometimes even now my husband and I get in like disagreements, right?
Hmm. Of
We don't
course.
always agree on things and I don't always react the right way, but yet there's an awareness around I'm like I can literally be like I know I'm not reacting the right way right now, but I really don't care. I'm still going to react, like I know that if I was reacting a different way, the whole
Hmm.
situation could turn out
Yeah.
differently, but yet I'm tired and I'm hungry and like
Yep.
I'm in a place where I know that I'm not doing it correctly. Now
Yes.
the thing that's amazing about that is that because of that awareness, in most cases, even when I don't do it correctly, like it only takes a little bit of time before I'm like, okay, I
Yes.
need to apologize. I need to,
Yeah.
I need
Reset.
to be different, right? Like, and then
Yeah.
it totally changes the situation.
Yeah,
So,
especially if you're hungry. I mean, like if I, my husband
oh,
always makes fun of me about being hangry. I was like, all right, feed me then. And then it's like a whole
yeah,
nother side of me comes out. And
yeah,
we're good. We're good.
yeah. And sometimes it's just like, I have to just say, like, I'm tired. Like,
Oh,
it's been a long
yes.
day and I'm tired. And I know that I'm not being very nice to you right now. So,
Yeah.
can we just talk about this in the morning? Because
Yes, exactly. Well,
I just,
it's one of the things that recently we've learned and we've been practicing because again, like you say, we're humans. We're not going to always do everything right, but we're just practicing it. It's like when we notice that the other person or even in ourselves are in that triggered state where someone has maybe said something that's like triggering us or doing something that's triggering us, it's like instead of like reacting or trying to force a conversation, sometimes we just take a moment and be like, okay, I can see where we are. Let's just separate for a moment and just
Yeah.
de-escalate. Just de-escalate a little bit, take some breaths, maybe read a book, whatever you need. Just a moment to breathe, and then maybe we can come and talk about it when we're in a more calm state because that's the thing. It's not easy to do, but it's we've done it a couple times and oh my gosh, it works. And so it's like it's just something again, like you say, that knowing these tools, knowing these things, it's powerful because it is forever something you can use and something you can be aware of and it gets easier and easier as you practice it but it's just I want people to understand the power of the knowing these tools and having that support as you're learning it so that you can take it with you for the rest of your life. I
Yeah.
mean
Yeah.
that's so valuable more than anything you'll ever like learn in your lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. And the difference would be that, 5 years ago, if we would have had the same disagreement,
Yeah.
I would have been dwelling, like my mind would
Oh,
have just been going over the conversation
yeah.
over and over and over and over again for days and then weeks and then months and years, even sometimes, right? Where I'd
Oh
be
yeah.
like, "Wait, you said this and you said that and you said this." And like, I think my husband and I had a disagreement a month ago, and I can't even remember what it was about.
I
Right?
love that. I love that.
I don't remember if we just went to bed and never talked about it again, or if we just decided to disagree, like
Hmm.
agree to disagree, or if we came to us. I really don't remember.
Yeah, I
Like,
love that. Yeah, I mean, but
yeah,
that's what it is. Well, as you grow too, a marriage is work. I mean, it's effort on both parts, and it's also allowing ourselves. I think that's the thing I'm learning is like we're never the same people that we were. We have to keep growing and evolving. And I find what can be challenging is as women, I think we tend to evolve quicker and in different ways than men sometimes. And that can be really challenging because they're very content. They're good a lot of times with things just surviving and just, hey, getting by, where we are very, big achievers. Like we want more and more and more. We want things to change. We want this abundance. And so it's that can right there is for me too has been the biggest challenge because it's like I feel like here I want to be here and he's good being here. So it's like how do we move forward in a way that benefits us both, that we can both feel good about it because I can't force him to be driven like I am. That's
right.
me. That's not him. So that, it's like I would love for you to speak on that. Like if ours because it sounds like with your religion, for instance, that's a
Oh, for sure.
big conflicting thing in a marriage right there, the
Yeah, yeah,
beliefs.
and I love that you point that out because that's exactly what happened for us. Like, even when I started my journey, like I was reading all the books, I was watching all the podcasts, I was going to the retreats, and I was doing all the self-help stuff. And he didn't want to have anything to do with any of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, we went to therapy together probably two times, 15-ish years ago. And I hate to say this, but it was because we were in a gigantic fight in the car, and I literally like opened the car door and got out while
Oh,
the car was moving.
there you go. There ain't no
I
judgment here,
cannot
girl.
go to therapy. You need some help, right? And and we went two times because it didn't resonate with either one of us, and it didn't help. And then we fought for 10 more years before I finally realized what I needed to do differently, right? And
Hmm.
so like there's something I can say towards just again, it was just me. Like me stop
Yeah.
placing the blame on him.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure, he was still, neither one of us were being kind to each other. We were both living in resentment and we were both
Yeah.
not being very nice to each other. But I had this idea in my head that he wasn't doing what I thought he was supposed to be doing. And so there was a lot of resentment around the fact that if you would just do this differently, if you would just do this differently, then we would be good,
Oh
right?
my, yeah.
So when I finally took accountability for that, and like I said, I started learning, I started reading all the things. But this is the amazing thing that I want women specifically to understand is like your husband doesn't have to participate in the self-help learning process for your marriage to grow.
I
It
love
doesn't
that.
you don't have to. And I'm not saying that it always works out this way. Like
Yeah.
obviously
I know.
sometimes the other person in the relationship does have to
Yeah.
still step up, right? They still have to make their own changes. But for me, I had to stop expecting him to change. And I found that over the years, as I've grown and I've learned and I've treated him better, that in return, he's turned around and started treating me better. And we really do have a good relationship now. Like and as far as the religion and the beliefs are concerned, like we've had more gospel conversations in the last 6 months than I've had in the last 30 years with him. And
Wow.
we still don't agree. We
Yeah.
still don't necessarily believe exactly the same thing,
Yeah.
but we're able to have the conversations.
That's good.
And like I said, sometimes they end up in, they're not always peaceful, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we end up in little arguments or
Yeah.
whatever, but because of both of our awareness, like we're able to come back together even after those arguments, and we're able to like grow together and learn together. And
Yeah.
it really has been just about me being open to listening also,
Yeah.
right? Like he has questions
Mhm.
that didn't really make sense. I didn't understand why he was questioning those things, but
Yeah.
he thinks different than I do, so that's okay, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I found myself struggling. I was struggling physically, I was struggling emotionally and spiritually, and I knew that I knew something needed to change, but I was having a hard time knowing what to do to change it because I
Mhm.
felt like I was already doing all the things. But what I've learned in the last couple of years is like the very first thing is the importance of focusing on what you want instead of what you don't want.
Yeah.
And there is an aspect to that. And it reminds me of a story. So when I started this whole process, I was actually attending a retreat. So I live in Utah. And so we live in the mountains.
Mhm.
There was a group of friends and that we were actually going to go on a hike.
Mhm.
And we all met in the morning, go on the hike. We were probably about 45 minutes into this hike, and we got to a lake. And one of the friends that I was with pointed to the other side of the lake, and she says, "That's the cliff we're going to jump off of." And I was like, "Wait, what?"
I didn't sign up
I
for
was
this.
like, okay, I had totally missed the memo that morning that we were going to be jumping off anything, let alone into a cold body of water. Like it was a nice cool day for
Yeah.
a hike, but
Hmm.
I don't like to be cold.
Me
So
too.
it wasn't even like jumping off the cliff that was a problem for me. It was the fact that
Yeah.
it was going to be into cold water, and I didn't. Everybody else wore a swimsuit underneath their clothes so they could jump off. I didn't wear one because I didn't know that this is what we were going to be doing. So
Yeah.
my mind, the second that she said that, was just focused on I'm gonna be cold. I'm gonna be cold. Like I could
I
already
got
feel the goosebumps around on my skin, right?
yeah,
So
too.
we continued to walk around the lake. And I had been working with a coach who had been teaching me this concept of focusing on what you want instead of what you don't want. So I realized that I was focusing on the fact that I didn't want to be cold, which is what I didn't want,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
And
Yeah.
I was
Hmm.
cold. And so I was like, okay. And I took a minute and I was like, okay, so what do I want instead of being cold? I want to be warm. So I started this little chant in my head. And as we finished walking around the
Hmm.
lake, I was like, I literally didn't hear anything anybody else was saying the whole time we walked
Yes.
around the lake. I was like in my head and I was in my thoughts and I was like, my heart is warm, my body's
Yes.
warm, my soul is warm. And you know what happened? I could literally feel the sunshine beating on my skin and I could feel the warmth of
Oh
the
my
sun.
God. I love
And then all of a sudden I would look across the lake and I would see the cliff and then my thoughts would go back to, but I don't want to be cold.
that.
So then and then all of a sudden I'd have goosebumps again.
Yep.
And I
Wow.
was just like, oh my goodness. And so then I'd reframe my thoughts and I'd be like, my heart is warm, my body's warm, my soul is warm. And I could feel the warmth of the sun on my skin again.
Wow.
And it was so interesting. Like, have you ever had something like that happen where you've been able to change your thoughts and focus on what you wanted instead of what you didn't want, and it literally brought in a different
Yes, that's the
thing,
power of our beliefs. Like that's what,
right?
I'll never forget. I always talk about this too. It's like when I first went into coaching, like or learned about coaching and started working with a coach, the biggest thing that blew my mind was even learning about the fact that my own beliefs, like I'm literally creating my own struggle. Like I'm I'm creating my own reality of the financial, instability and all the bad relationships. Like I was attracting that because of my beliefs. And so that's the power of our thoughts. Like that is the power of, and that's why it's so important to take this stuff seriously because I feel like it's so empowering to know how much power we have within us. It is already there. It is already ours, but unfortunately, so many of us don't really aren't willing to go. above and beyond to work on ourselves. We're so focused, like you say, on the external outcomes and the external world and taking care of everyone else. We never stop to think about ourselves and what we need for us and how we can have all of those things if we just start here first.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's such a cool story because I'm so like you with the whole cold. Like, I
Yeah.
would have struggled so much with that. So I love that reframe and something for me to even think about in the future if I come across something like that. Because my husband makes fun of me how like if it's like under 60 degrees, like I won't even walk to the mailbox because I hate the cold.
Same. Yeah, same. I sit here in my office all day long and the temperature thing says it's like 71 and I'm like freezing still. I'm like blankets and long sleeve shirts
Yes,
and
I know people would think I'm crazy. I keep my house at like 74. So
yeah.
like I know people probably think I'm crazy, but thankfully
Yeah.
I like to feel like it's summer all the time. I love the summertime. I love the heat. You know, my family's from Trinidad. I wasn't born there, but still like I feel like it's part of my genetics in a way too. Like I've been in North Carolina since I was in the third grade and I've never gotten used to this cold weather. And I'm not going to.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. I
Yeah.
love it.
And
So
that's
yeah.
what, yeah, and that's just the amazing thing about it, right? Because when
Mm.
you're struggling,
Yeah.
if you can realize that you can expect miracles
Yeah.
and you can focus on what you want,
Want.
like
Yes.
anything's possible. Like
Yeah.
literally anything.
And there's so much evidence of that. Like you just hear all these stories from these celebrities or just anyone successful and just hearing how like they were almost on the verge of like going home or walking away or they just happened to show up at an event that just felt aligned for them and they just walked and met the right person and boom. You know, and it's like people don't realize it can be that's what it's like when you live in alignment. When you live aligned with who you are and being true to yourself and just trusting that God is always working everything out for you. Yes, you don't have all the answers. You're not supposed to. I think that's the beauty of life is that we allow ourselves to just get out there and let things unfold as it's meant to. And then we get to decide whether we're going to do something about it or not. And
Yeah.
that is the difference between where people become successful and where people hold back and they miss out on those opportunities because they allow those unfortunate, old limiting beliefs to keep them from believing that that is actually possible for them. So therefore, they don't take that risk. They don't take that chance. They don't, put themselves out there. And this is my goal with having these conversations and sharing and showing up myself because I want to lead by example, like you say. I think that's we don't realize, like you say, when you do that work on yourself, the ripple effect it has on those around you. So even with you, with working on yourself with your husband, you showing up better and loving yourself and doing that inner work and not allowing what he does to affect that, as hard as that is, probably helped set that example for him and the energy you were releasing rubbed off, it affected him more than he probably realized subconsciously, which allowed him to respond in that way that, you needed, even if it wasn't exactly the way you wanted. It was still in a way that helped you guys to grow stronger in the end instead of what unfortunately most people do, which is break up or end.
Yeah, yeah. And it's been an interesting thing about it is that he's been, oh, now I kind of forgot what I was just going to say.
Oh, sorry. I know what that is. It's an
Well,
ADD brain.
like, have you ever heard of the concept or the concept of cause versus effect, like the
Yeah.
cause versus effect equation,
Hmm.
right? So that's like something that I really like to teach my clients is
Yeah.
that, that when you're in cause in your
Hmm.
life, you are actually you realize and you know that everything you do in your life is causing what happens. Like what I do and what I think and what I say, it's
Yeah.
going to cause. So it's basically me understanding that things happen for me,
Yeah.
right? Whereas if you're in effect, it's more about things are happening to me and
Oh,
it's other and you're placing blame on other people, right? So when you're
mhm.
when you're on this cause side of the equation, like people will think of you how you think of yourself. So it really, and that's the interesting thing, it really came down to the me learning the tools to get rid of the limiting beliefs, like you were saying, right? Like finding the confidence in myself. Because a lot of times, like perception is projection. Have you heard of that too? Like
Yes.
where, yeah, like literally, so
Yeah.
if something about someone else irritates you, if
Yeah.
we really look deep inside ourselves, it's probably because it's something that irritates us about ourselves.
Yeah, it's why a
I
lot of
have,
people are critical of people who are successful because a part of them, which is that they had the guts to do it
yeah,
themselves. So therefore, they want to try to bring you down to their level because it makes them feel a little bit better about themselves for not doing it. So yeah, that's why I always tell people don't listen to the negativity like that because it's just a projection.
yeah. And being able to
Mhm.
learn the tools to
Yeah.
like get rid of the triggers, because I feel like
Oh,
that was like
yes.
one of the big things that helped me move forward is because there were just we had so many things that had happened over our 20-25 year relationship, right,
Mhm.
that like my mind was still playing those stories and the things
Of
that he had
course.
said in past conversations in my head.
Yeah.
And so then something he would say something and it would literally trigger that emotion in me,
Hmm.
and then I would react because I was triggered. And
Yeah.
being able to go through and learn the tools to actually release those emotions that I'd been holding on to for years and years and years. And sometimes it wasn't
Yes.
even my emotion to hold on to, right? It was
Oh,
like
right.
generational or and
That's
it's just interesting that how the body holds on to all of that.
yeah.
And when I was able to let go of all of that, like the things he says to me are no longer a trigger that makes me like
Yeah.
feel trapped in my body. And it gives and it and when I practice that over and over again now, like,
Yeah.
and again, like every once in a while there's still a little trigger, right? And that's when I'm like, oh crap, I can tell I'm reacting how I'm not supposed to react. But
But that's so
there are
beautiful.
so many times
Yeah.
where I am reacting better,
Yeah.
right? I'm like,
Yeah.
and that's what's making the difference.
Oh, yeah.
And and again, because I'm reacting different, he is feeling more safe in the
Mm.
conversations. And
Yeah.
then I'm feeling more safe in the conversations. And so we're able to actually have those conversations.
Yeah.
And it's been so amazing. And the same things happens with my kids, right? My
Yeah.
my four daughters are all adults now.
Yeah.
And they're all off doing their own things. Three of them are married. They've all got jobs. And the same thing. Like we've had times in our while those girls were growing up, right, that I was struggling with myself.
Yes.
My teenage daughters would say mean things. They
Mm.
would say, I hate you, they would say, and I'm like, I literally even actually recall one time where my oldest daughter, probably, I don't know, she was probably 14 or so. And I can vividly remember this conversation, us standing
Mm.
on the stairway at our home and her screaming at me and me screaming at her. And like, I slapped her.
Oh, yeah. My
I
mom
like,
slapped me before.
yeah, I was like, I was upset. And then I felt, after that argument, and she went to her room crying, I went to my room crying. Like, yeah, I felt like a terrible mom,
No, no,
right?
that's
I
so
felt like a terrible mom.
no.
But again, the interesting thing is that this daughter, she's got three kids now. Her oldest daughter is 5 years old. And just a couple weeks ago, like she called me and she was crying and she was like, I feel like she hates me. She's 5 years old, right? She's like, I feel like she hates me. And I just kind of laughed because I was like,
Yeah.
well, you know,
Welcome
I
to my
remember,
world.
yeah, I was like, well, I remember when you hated me. And she was like, whatever. Like she doesn't even remember, right? But I'm like, I literally felt like she hated me.
Yeah.
She doesn't even remember hating me,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I vividly remember that.
Wow. And so, that right there, just, that shows right there that two people can be in the exact same experience and still come out with a totally different perspective, or even, like you say, remembering of it. Because a lot
Yeah,
of people, there's people who do, like, they block out a lot of their memories on purpose as a safety to protect themselves from painful experiences. So it's like, where it's vivid for you and she's allowed herself to block it out, like, but yet you guys still went through it. And
yeah,
it's like that just goes to show you too, like it's like it doesn't matter, that where someone has gone through, they're not no one's ever going to look at the world the way you do. It's just the way it is. And that's why I think accepting ourselves as well as learning to accept other people helps us to have a freer life, instead of carrying more than we should. Like it's not up to us to make people, see the way the world is or be offended for people or whatever it is. It's like it's just about us finding peace with ourselves and loving who we are and showing up that way. That to me is the most freeing thing you can do.
yeah, yeah. And that's actually the second thing that I was going to point out that I learned is that
Yeah.
we don't think the same.
Yeah.
Like, and for me, I feel like that, like, we all know, like, we all know that we're like one piece in this grand puzzle of Earth, right? Like, we're
Yes.
unique. We're the unique piece of the puzzle. Like,
Yeah.
I've heard that a million times. And for me, that meant, I think over the years, I didn't really think about it enough, but I always just thought it meant, like we look different. We have different color hair, we have different color skin, we have different color eyes, we have different physique, whatever. So we're all different. But I had never really considered the fact that we all think differently. And that's by design, right? It's
Yes.
purposely by design.
Yeah.
And I mean, that reminds me of another story because my husband and I have lived in this house that we built it about 2 years ago. So we went through the process of building it ourselves.
Hmm.
And when we finally were able to move in, there were still a bunch of projects that, well, there's still a bunch of, even now,
Yeah.
we still got a lot of projects to do.
That's a.
But when we first moved in, the master shower wasn't finished in our bathroom.
Mhm.
And so we had to shower in one of the bathrooms on the other side of the house, right? Like the main bathroom on the other
Yeah.
side of the house. And it just had a standard tub in it. And we bought one of those shower caddies that you have to, like, you like hang on the side of the tub to put your shampoo
Oh
and
yeah.
conditioner and all that stuff in. And I remember, and there were two little hooks on the side of that little shower caddy where when I would shave my legs, after I was done shaving my legs, I would try to hang the
Razor.
razor on one of
Yeah.
the hooks.
Hmm.
And the razor only has this little triangle hole in it, right? That I'm like trying to stick on the hook and it doesn't fit very good. So like every time I'd be like struggle bus, right?
Oh
Like it would
yes.
fall on the ground. I'd have to pick it up. I'd have to try and I'd barely get it like to sit there and it would dangle. Well, probably like a year and a half after we've lived in this house, I get in the shower one day and there are the razors sitting on the hooks the two hooks because there were two this direction. And I was like, I looked at it and I was like, huh, that's probably how it's supposed to be done. Like, that's probably how the thing's designed to simply, easily
Ew.
put that thing on the two
Gosh.
hooks. And it was at that moment that I was like, my husband obviously, it probably fell on the ground. He got in the shower, he picked it up, he sat it on there without
Yeah.
even thinking. And I was like, my brain would have literally kept doing it the hard way, the same way for the rest of my life. Like I didn't even consider that there was another way to do it. I just kept doing it that way,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was like at that moment that I realized he thinks different than I do. And what else, what other conversations and things is he doing that I'm not actually considering learning
Learning.
from, right?
Yeah.
So it was really about
Mm.
the concept of opposites attract.
Yeah.
Like we attract the people in our lives that are a projection of what we need to improve. So if we look at other people around us and the things that they do different as an opportunity of growth and learning,
Yeah.
instead of being like, instead of, oh, they
Judgment.
do it different than I do, so I need to make sure they're doing it like me, right? Which is, I feel like what I was doing for 20 years. I was like, no,
Mhm.
you need to do it like me. You need to
Yeah.
do it like me because what I'm doing is the right way. You need to do it like me instead of actually learning from those conversations. And it made me realize that, like, that's the reason I love that man, right? Is because he does things different than me.
Yeah.
He takes care of the cars. He
Yeah.
does all like he does all the things that I don't want to do.
Oh
So
yeah.
why am I so upset and angry about the fact that he's not doing something that I want him to do instead of being grateful for the things that he does do?
Hmm.
That's what was happening for years, right? And all the resentment built up. So it was just an amazing realization for me that we all think different and
Yeah.
to look at people in aspect of being able to grow and learn from them instead of trying to make them
Yeah.
instead of trying to change them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I love that what you just said about being grateful for what they are doing instead of focusing on what they're not doing. That's something I've struggled with right there
Yeah.
because, I can sit here and when I talk about my husband, people are like, "Ugh, girl, I'd kill to have someone who does it because he does
Oh,
the grocery shopping, he does the cooking. He's the fixer around here. If anything goes wrong, he can take care of it. He takes care of, like you say, the vehicles and things like that. I mean, there's so much he does. I mean, he helps out with the kids too, like, taking
yeah.
them to school if I need them to, or changing them, doing bath time. So it's not like it's all on me. I mean, it's mostly, some things on me, but it's like he's always willing to help and do to take
Yeah.
off of me, which is great. But of course, there you go. For most of the time, I'm focused on if he's not working, if he's not working. Because for
Yeah.
me, that was my trigger. That's where
Yeah.
I learned about my inner child. is, in the past, I went through us getting evicted when I was a teenager and being homeless. And so I have that fear of growing up and the poverty and that. So therefore it triggers me when I
Yeah,
don't feel safe with finances. And so I've had to work on my money relationship with myself and with how I
absolutely.
manage things, and also not putting that 100% on my husband. Cause I'm like, who I am very capable. The one thing my mom taught me was to be a very independent woman and to not rely on anyone. So I'm like, I need to stop living my life feeling like I have to put that on him to do for us. It's great that he does it and he's going to provide where he provides. But, at the same time, like you say, I love this conversation because the biggest thing I'm taking away right now, too, with everything we're talking about is the whole focusing on what we want and not what we don't want, which I think so many of us, we could admit that we struggle with that. We tend to focus on the lack of. And when you focus on the lack of, that's what you attract.
Yeah.
And so there you go. If anyone's listening and this is you, I hope this conversation is helping you to just be mindful for yourself, because that's what it is all about. I mean, it's growing, it's learning, it's practicing, it's building that awareness and allowing ourselves to become more of the identity of who we're meant to be and who we want to be, because we get to decide that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that.
And please share with us that final lesson that you feel like you had in your life that really helped shift things for you.
Yeah, so the third thing is around the physical health, right? So nourishing and paying attention to your body. So I remember when I first started out my career, I was 19 years old. I got my
Mhm.
first job working a computer job. I was sitting in a cubicle at a desk. And if you're familiar with Salt Lake City, like I said, we've got a lot of mountains. So I worked at the bot in an office that was up at the bottom of the canyon.
Mhm.
And I had a coworker who was about 10 years older than me, and he was really into fitness. And he actually lived on the other side of the canyon. So
Okay.
he would live. So so it was in
Mm.
Salt Lake, and then it was if anybody's familiar with Utah, he lived in Park City, but he would frequently ride his bike up over the canyon, which was like 25 miles,
Whoa. Okay.
and he would ride his bike or run to work. And I thought he was nuts. Like I've never been like I couldn't even run down the street, let alone run up through a canyon, right?
That's
Like,
so big.
but I was 19, so
Yeah.
I'm like, I felt fine. I felt great. Like I didn't even, it wasn't
Yeah.
a big deal. But he would
Mhm.
make fun of me because I was eating at McDonald's and Taco Bell and like all the fast food places for lunch. And I had another dirty little secret where I had a whole drawer full of candy all the time, and I was just snacking on junk all day long, every day,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And again, I was 19, so I
Yeah.
like he would make fun of me, and I'd be
Yeah.
like, whatever, I feel fine.
Oh.
Well, yeah, 20 years goes by.
Oh
I
yeah.
have four babies.
Oh.
I sat at a computer a lot of my life working on my computer
Yeah.
stuff,
Mhm.
and it caught up with me.
Mhm.
so so 5 years ago, when I was going through this process, I knew that something needed to change. And the
Yeah.
very first step for me was nourishing and listening to my body. And this is where the gut health comes in, right?
Yeah.
So I I knew that my gut was a mess because I had stomach aches, I had heartburn all the time. I
Yeah.
had been to the doctor over and over again. My energy was depleted. I was exhausted. I would wake up every morning getting those kids to school, and then I would plan my day around when I could lay down and take a nap, which because I worked from home was convenient because I
Yeah.
could pretty much nap anytime I wanted to. But again, if I slept for 2 hours during the day, then I was up all night trying to
Make
get
it
my
work.
work done. And I
Mhm.
just didn't feel good. And so I knew that my gut was a mess. And when I finally started looking into gut health and learning
Yeah.
about feeding my body nutritionally and
Yeah.
getting the nutrients in my body,
Yeah.
you guys, there is absolutely no reason we need to struggle like that. Like, as soon as I started, and that was the first step in my healing journey, was
That's
learning
awesome.
and I did that through supplementation, right? I started taking some supplements that were getting the nutrients in my body. So I gradually started to feel better and get more energy. So I started getting up and moving my body more. I would just walk around the neighborhood for 10 or 15 minutes, and I I had gained at that point, an extra 25, 30 pounds. I had inflammation like crazy. I couldn't wear my wedding ring anymore. And just by healing my gut and actually starting getting up and moving my body a little bit, the weight started to fall off. So I
Mhm.
lost 25 to 30 pounds within that first year of working on my gut health. And I just felt better.
Yeah.
Like physically, I felt better. And And like the connection that I was talking about at the beginning, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think because all those years I wasn't taking care of my body, I didn't physically have the capability to even know how to process, change my thoughts, work on my mindset, release emotions. Like there was, the capacity was not even there because my body was physically depleted.
Yeah.
And so once I started learning that process of taking care of my body and getting the nutrients in my body, then it was after when I started feeling better that I was able to take that time to learn about mindset and do some coaching and have, learn the tools to be able to release those emotions that I was holding on to all those years. And yeah, it was like
I
it was
think,
just that was the first step in my healing journey,
yeah.
right? So for those of you who are actually watching this recording, and for you, Mary, like, what do you want? If you really think about what you want, if we go
Yeah.
back to the focus on what you want concept, it's about paying attention to the words that you're using,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So not just the words that you're using out loud, but also the words that you're using inside your head.
Yeah.
So if you think about for a second, what is it that you really want in your life, or your business, right?
Hmm.
Are you using the words like, I don't want to fight with my spouse anymore,
Yeah.
versus
I want a
I
healthy
want to
relationship.
have a healthy and strong and communication. I want to have communication with my spouse, right? Like our conscious and our subconscious brain doesn't know the difference between the don'ts. Like when we put don't in front of something, our subconscious brain is still focusing on the thing. And that's why it's not a good idea to focus on what we don't want. Because when I say I don't want to fight with my spouse, my subconscious brain is still focusing on fighting.
Yeah. Yep. I
Or,
love that.
right, health wise,
Yeah.
if I'm focused on I want to lose weight, your body's still focused on weight, right? Versus I want to be healthy and strong. I have another example of that. I started after a year or so of working on my gut health, I started going to the gym and lifting, doing some weightlifting. And I remember I was there one time and doing a class, and it was hard. Like I was
Yeah.
sweating. And I have a hard time with the words here because I like want to say like it was killing me. I was
I
dying,
bet. I
right?
bet. No,
And that's
yeah.
what I would say out loud to
Oh,
the person next to me and to the
yeah.
coach that was teaching us how to do stuff,
Yeah.
right? I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm dying. This is
Yeah.
killing me."
Oh,
And then again, like because I'd been working on this and I'd been learning about it, I there was one day that I was like, okay, I got to stop saying that it's killing me. That
yes.
my and I decided, like, in my mind, I reframed the words and I started to tell myself, I want to be healthy and strong. This is making me stronger. This is making me stronger. This is making me stronger. This is making me
Yes.
stronger. And I told the coach there that was in the class that about this concept, and told her this story. And a couple weeks later, she comes up to me and she goes, have you been doing that? Have you been doing that thing in your mind where you say it differently? And I was like, yeah, I have the last couple of weeks. And she's like, I've noticed a difference in the way that you've been showing up.
I love that.
And
I
I was
love.
like, I love
Yes.
it. And I felt the difference too, right?
Yeah.
Because at that point it was making me stronger instead of killing me.
Yes. Yes, I love that. That's so powerful of a message right there. And to go back too about what you want when it comes to your health, like I actually was asked this question when I was seeking out about mobility recently, and I love what I was able to understand and what I said because for anyone listening, I want you to ask that question to yourself because for me, my answer was that I want to be able to play with my grandkids. I
Yeah.
want to be able to always be available to run around and have fun and do what I want and never be limited. I don't, so I want to, and again, there you go. That's the whole, I don't want to say that limited because again, I don't want to put that into my mind. That's a reframe right there. I just caught, but there you go. But it's just more of just being like, what I want is to be the freedom to feel good in my body, to be able to, because I see my mom who is just 20 years older than me and hasn't even hit 60 yet and she's dealing with arthritis pains, aches, and things like that. And I see that and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that could be me if I don't take my health serious now. And
Yeah.
because what you do now affects your later. Like you said, all that stuff, taking it for granted at 19, like, oh, I feel good, I'm good, I can do this, whatever. We don't realize that that's going to catch up to us. And so it is important to think about that if you want to feel good, if you want to be able to carry your grandkids and be present for them, healthy and not limited. Like this is something, like I said, the gut health is huge in a starting point in building your energy up and your health mentally that I think would help motivate a lot of moms who struggle with physical health in a great way. So I think this is a fantastic starting point of what you're sharing because that is, like you say, it clogs your brain and the capacity to even think about doing an exercise with everything else we have going on. Like to add, the way we look at it a lot of times is that, oh, it's adding to our plate, which it's not. It's super important. And there's a lots that you can do that doesn't take hours and hours of your
Oh, for
time.
sure. Yeah. And what I didn't understand before I started learning about it was that our gut is actually like everything from our mouth to our other end. Like it literally is, I mean, you've probably heard it called the second brain, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
literally, if we've got if our gut is not in balance, basically like good bacteria versus bad bacteria, and then blood sugar balance, how important that is,
Yeah.
like the blood sugar balance. And that's another thing that I always thought, well, I don't have diabetes, I don't need to worry about it, which my dad actually does have diabetes
Yeah.
if it's
It runs in my family. So
diabetic.
yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I didn't understand the importance of blood sugar and how it really does affect it. Like if we're when we're in our 30s and our 40s, and even me being in my 50s now,
Yeah.
like if you can balance your blood sugar, then your body will automatically create all the hormones that it's supposed to. The serotonin so that your moods are better, the
Mm-hmm.
melatonin so you sleep better. All the thyroid issues people are having, all the autoimmune diseases are
Yeah.
caused by inflammation in your body. And
Mm-hmm.
when you work on your gut health and you heal your gut from the inside, it literally removes all the inflammation. It literally balances your blood sugar so that your hormones are, so that your body will naturally create the hormones that it's supposed to, instead of us having to put in all these biochemical
Yes.
created synthetic versions of the hormone, right? That cause
Yeah.
side effects.
Yeah.
So it's just, but I literally, like, I literally feel younger than I did 10 years ago.
Oh,
I feel
love
like
that.
I'm aging backwards.
Wow, I
And
love it.
like I have some before and after pictures on my Instagram and on my Facebook. So like if you want to, I like I would
Look,
look, you have to go look
I
because it's
will.
kind of funny. Like you don't even notice. And I didn't do this for weight or information or even the physical,
Yeah, it's
the way
just,
that I looked. Like
yeah.
that's not why I did it. I did it because I didn't feel good. But
Yeah.
just looking at the difference of what I looked like I looked exhausted. I looked inflamed. And when I started to heal from the inside, like
Yeah.
I just thinned out. It's just
Yeah.
so interesting how it works, right?
It is. It is. And I think it's so beautiful what you're doing to help others from your own journey because this is, I mean, this is life changing. And my goal is to inspire moms to take action, to go after their dreams, to chase after the life that they deserve and that they want because we're worthy of it. I think it's all waiting for us to show up for it. It's just a matter of whether or not we're going to allow ourselves to do that or not. And so I just want to be that support and that inspiration that, hey, I'm in it. I'm in the throes of it too. I get it. I know what it's like to struggle, but I've also overcome a lot of things in my journey. And so I know it's possible already. So that's my hope is to even give that just that little sense of motivation, that perspective, that support to someone who's ready, who's like, I'm done, like you say,
Yep.
not feeling good. I'm done living life and struggle and uncertainty and fear and I'm ready to step into my power. Like come find a life coach, whether it's me, whether it's
Yeah,
Kristen, whether it's someone. I'm telling you,
100%.
there's such power in having these tools and having the support to really turn your life around. It is transformational, truly. So I love what you do. And Kristen, if someone is listening and would like to learn more about you, where would you say is the best place for them to find out more about you?
Yeah, you can definitely go to my Instagram, like you said,
Yeah.
at body and spirit, body.and.spirit. And from there is a link to my, where you could, I am offering a complimentary,
Yeah.
clarity call if anybody wants to
Okay.
share what they're going through, and I can give you
Yeah.
some suggestions. And
Yeah.
there's a link on there you can get to from my Instagram page where you can make an appointment. And
I love that.
I love to hear everybody else's story and love to chat with people too. So,
Yeah, this is why I love this podcast. It's my favorite thing to just chat and have these conversations, meet
yeah.
people like you. It is So rewarding. I'm so grateful that I made the decision years ago to do this. And I love to just keep seeing where everyone's going on their journeys and watching us grow and evolve and helping those that we're meant to help. It's truly beautiful to be part of. So I am thankful to you, Kristen, for being part of the show. I always open the floor too. Is there any final piece of advice that you'd like to share with moms today?
I think just back to the pay attention to the words that you use, right? Like even in business. So if you have a lot of business, entrepreneur moms or working moms that are
Yeah.
watching this, like again, like pay attention. Don't, as far as the words that you use, like are you focused on debt? Like I don't want to have bills. I can't pay my bills. I don't want the debt. Like focus on abundance. Focus on like I'm a firm believer that if I focus on abundance, that God will give me the opportunities that I need to provide for my family.
I love that. Oh my
And he
gosh.
always will, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
He shows me that so many times he'll come in. I feel like he sends me reminders like, Mary, did I not help you in this situation where you thought, how am I going to work this out? And then look what happened. So know that I'm always there and it will always work out. And that's one of my biggest beliefs is that things are always going to work out for me. So I do speak that a lot and I do see the evidence all the time. And there's times too, like you say, we're weak and I have to remind myself of that. And I love that God has those evidence and those stories that he'll bring back in my mind to remind me of the time where I was a little bit of a mess or I wasn't sure how things were going to happen. And then bam, they worked out. So
well,
love
because
it.
I mean, there's a scripture, right, that says that God will make weak things become strong, and it's because if we can actually learn from the weaknesses or learn from the situations in our life that were hard,
Yeah.
then we can turn around and use it, move forward in a different way. So
Yeah,
it's so amazing.
absolutely.
Thank you so much for doing this, Mary. These conversations are so blessed and so important. You're doing such an amazing thing.
Oh my God, I appreciate that so much, Kristen. Thank you for being part of it and for all that you're doing. I just know that you're going to help so many people out there. And I'm grateful to be able to meet people like you and get to have you here to share your story and just be the awesome person you are. So thank you.
Yes, I love it.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe below, follow along, and always leave a comment. Tell me what was your favorite takeaway. What are some things that are coming up for you through these conversations? I really love to hear from my listeners and know that I'm always here for you. If anyone listening is ready to take action and really follow through and implement the goals that you set out for, as well as work on that mindset and really step into your full potential and the CEO of your life, then I invite you, schedule your free 1 hour limitless mom strategy call with me while they're available. And let's explore where you are, where you want to be, and how we can bridge that gap together. I can't thank you all enough for tuning in each week. Always remember, until next time, keep rising, keep shining, and keep believing in everything that is available for you, Mama. You are worthy, you deserve it, and I'm so grateful to be walking this journey alongside you. Much love.